If you'd wanted to know what the future looked like before it arrived, all you really had to do was look at the Jetsons.
Meet George Jetson!
The television series described many things we now see in the 21st century long before we'd even finished the 20th. The Jetsons predicted our present technology and lifestyle. So since they were so great at telling us what today would look like, what can this cartoon family teach us about future tech and how automation will alter our lives?
You think? Your machine is supposed to do the thinking, Jetson.
I have feelings like everyone else.
The future is happening now. The question is, when will it be distributed so everyone benefits from it?
Hey everyone, I'm Joel. This is AJ Plus, and this Sunday, we're looking into a colorful cartoon past to better understand our automated future. And yes, we will talk about robots, jobs, and the dark side of automation. Flying cars, moving walkways, video conferencing, computers, and robotic maids. Those are all things the Jetsons had. When George, Jane, Judy, and Elroy premiered on ABC in 1962, all those things were unimaginable as a part of daily life. Future tech was color TV when the Jetsons began, because it wasn't until the 1960s that color televisions began selling en masse. So the thought that Rosie, the family's robotic maid, would one day become a part of daily life as an automatic vacuum cleaner may have been inconceivable then. But in 2018, Rosie looks like this and sounds like this.
You have 12 events scheduled.
The world is rushing to automate. Think grocery store checkouts, self-driving cars, and how shipping has evolved. In fact, the automated household of the Jetsons is only a decade away, according to tech entrepreneur Vivek Wadhwa.
But when I was young, it was my favorite TV series. I expect to have a robot like Rosie cleaning up after me. Rather than having servants and maids and chauffeurs, we'll have robots serving us.
So maybe your morning routine doesn't look exactly like George Jetson's yet, but it already has some similarities. And unlike the Jetsons' total embrace of the technology around them, society in real life has been hesitant about some technological advances. The trepidation may have something to do with hearing forecasts like this one from World Bank President Jim Yong Kim.
We estimate that 2/3 of all jobs that currently exist in developing countries will be wiped out by automation.
Take a second to think of any and every job that makes up our economy. Well, 50% of those work activities are technically able to be automated by current technologies. Even the Obama White House said that almost every driving job, that's your taxi driver, the delivery driver who delivers the food to your local grocery store, and the long-haul truckers you see on the interstate, all of their jobs will be automated.
That's f***ed up, yo. Like, what the f*** are they gonna do if they make everything autonomous?
Maybe hearing those statistics makes you want to panic, but AI and robotics expert Neil Jacobstein says you don't have to, and shouldn't get hysterical about the worst that can happen with automation.
If you run your risk assessment by what's the worst that can happen, you would run a risk assessment around many of the technologies that are already in the world today and conclude that they should all be banned, including cars.
Jacobstein says we haven't banned vehicles just because they have the potential to run down pedestrians. That's a worst case scenario, and he says if we'd use it to determine the future of cars, we would never have had them. So we have cars, and actually, we have much more than you may realize. Wadhwa says it's important to recognize just how far automation and AI have already come.
We have to understand the technology advances and accept the fact that this is going to happen. Don't be in denial about it. Understand the fact that every industry is going to be impacted.
And when he says AI and automation will impact every single industry, he means it. It's not just jobs reliant upon physical labor that are at risk. Those are things you've probably already heard and thought about, like the truck driver example we talked about earlier. You can also expect careers that require a lot of intelligence to be disrupted, and here's why.
Because what artificial intelligence does, it analyzes data, information, and makes decisions.
We're going to see them augment humans in human roles. So there'll be machines plus humans outperforming either humans or machines alone.
Whoa. Maybe this is why, in a world filled with advanced technology, George Jetson's only job is to push a couple of buttons.
After all, I'm a darn good digital index operator. You gotta have it up here to know how to start these things and stop them.
And according to Mr. Spacely, he didn't even do that well.
You dunderhead, you don't!
This means even George's cushy job could be disrupted too.
You're fired!
I don't think that there's any limit to what these systems can learn to do eventually.
Jacobstein says automation's benefits won't come without turmoil, aka serious growing pains.
The question is not whether AI and robotics will create new jobs, because it's absolutely true that they will create and do create new jobs. The question is, what's the ratio of new job creation to job displacement or destruction? And I think that ratio could easily be unfavorable, at least in the short term.
To understand what this could mean, let's look at the medical industry. There are already digital doctors that can look at your health and digital tutors that can teach you. Wadhwa says the ability to diagnose yourself and have AI advise you on maintaining your health is not far away. In fact, he says there will be fewer doctors because of this, and it may affect some of the most specialized positions first. If you're questioning what other jobs will be available in the automated age, realize we may already be doing them and just not getting compensated.
In the long term, we could create new jobs that are jobs that we don't see today or people don't get paid to do today. A lot of work that people do in volunteer work could be paid. We are already doing many jobs in today's world that people would never call a job, 200 years ago.
To prepare for this future, Wadhwa says the best way to deal with automation's disruption is to look at the past.
Take a deep breath.
Okay, but not that far in the past. And in my interview, Wadhwa told me that the case study to look at is the Great Depression. The crippling economic downturn left about a quarter of the workforce jobless at one point. The federal government's response is what's known as the New Deal. It included public works projects and financial reforms, all aimed at getting people back to work. So, much like the Great Depression, the disruption automation and AI bring gives us a chance to reboot our lives.
We can rethink our society, rethink our entire value system, and go back to what matters. This is the opportunity we have now, all in the next 10, 15, 20 years.
While we're thinking of all the changes needed in the United States to deal with the result of automation, just know it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. What's required in Nigeria, Australia, or India isn't the same as the US.
Countries such as India and Bangladesh and Pakistan, for example, there's infrastructure to be built. We can put all these people to work in building new cities, abandon the existing cities which are polluted and filthy.
But there is one thing all nations will have to troubleshoot.
We really need to think ahead about what we're going to do to help people maintain a high quality of life lifestyle. If we're going to rely on jobs being the primary mechanism of wealth distribution, then we might easily see businesses cutting jobs and replacing those jobs with automation.
So yes, automation and AI will bring a lot of changes, a lot of which will be very uncomfortable.
It's not all hopeless. Who says we have to work 40, 50, 60 hours a week? Why are jobs so important? What if we only have to work 5 or 10 hours a week? What if everyone now had everything they needed and the purpose of life, the goals that we had, were to seek enlightenment?
Hey, thanks for watching. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And I just produced a 3-part series on this very topic, AI, automation, and robotics. So be sure to check that out.